Episode 9. Dinner is served. Some people should find a better use for their heads than thinking nasty things and being rude. Trust me, she's going to lose her sooner or later. Would that make you happy? What did I say to Malik? Yes? Maybe? The professor's ingratiating whispers worms its way into her memories with a serpentine hiss that made her hair stand on end. The man's image took on a dark and sinister hues. He said Miss Colossus would lose her head, and she did. She lost it the same day. How's that possible? Another mystery had been added to the growing number of puzzles within the walls of Astrea. The mystery of the strange man who had suddenly appeared in her life. There's definitely something wrong with him. Her phone screen had long gone dark, but Audrey continued to clutch the device in her hands. Arthur's dead. The patient that I'm accused of injuring has passed away. She wasn't sure exactly what this meant for her, but she could guess that it wasn't going to be good. Maybe I should talk to David? Or call Malik? The mere thought made her heart shrink in fear. She knew perfectly well that Malik had been beside her in the banquet hall when the truck collided with the Colossus car. But the words he said in the hospital wouldn't leave her mind. It's as if he had anything to do with what happened just because of one stupid phrase. It's like I'm complicit, too, because I didn't say no to him. Death's sudden arrival at the threshold skillfully smoothed out the edges of her problems, making their sharp corners seem much simpler. Swallowing her pride was so easy now. She couldn't fathom why she'd avoided this conversation before. Audrey was ready to ask the residents of the house to gather in the living room. She was ready to confess everything. That she didn't have a license, that she'd almost killed a patient, she withheld important information from them about a possible connection to the beast. I need to decide who to call now. David. At first, Audrey wanted to talk to David face to face, but then she realized that she didn't even know where his bedroom was. After a moment's hesitation, she sent him a text. I hope I don't wake him up with my message. Please come talk to me when you can. On my way. His reply came surprisingly quickly. Now, here? Audrey rushed out of the bed. Almost immediately, she heard hurried footsteps outside. David burst into the room with a long, springy stride and stared at her expectantly. What's wrong? The anxiety in his eyes made her feel unexpectedly warm. I hope I don't disappoint him. Audrey hesitantly raised her hand and brought her fingers to her lips as if in a final attempt to hold back the confession, but she quickly stopped herself and took a deep breath. Get a grip. David, I have a confession to make. And I know that what I did was disgusting, and if you don't want to work with me anymore... Audrey, I'm a lawyer, remember? I know how to listen and not make moral judgments. Audrey licked her suddenly dry lips and then continued her confession. The thing is, I didn't change jobs by choice. I was kicked out of Goodlam. I can't practice medicine like it says on my resume. I don't have a license. Biting her lip, Audrey fell silent and looked away. David was the first to break the silence. And? He caught her gaze and raised his eyebrows questioningly, urging her to continue. And that's it. He looked even more puzzled than Audrey. We know about that, and we don't care. The heavy burden Audrey had carried for so long suddenly snapped. It fell with a deafening rumble. Relief rose from the rubble like a cloud of dust, sudden and unexpected. I can't imagine why any of us would need your license. But if it's that important to you, I'll get it back. Is he being serious? Get it back? Yes, but only if you promise not to leave us right away. David, I should have said something sooner. Frankly, I'm a little shocked that knowing the best lawyer didn't prompt you to tell me right away. His genuine indignation brought a smile to her face. I couldn't just ask for help as soon as I walked in the door, could I? Of course not. I wasn't the one who greeted you. But you could have mentioned it in the sitting room. I would have understood immediately. With a relief came another source of joy. I won't have to ask Malik for help. Thank you, David. Anytime, Audrey. Will I need to officially hire you? David is always prepared to come to your rescue. Well, do without the formalities for now. Alright, but there's a catch. My patient died today. David didn't even react to this information. Go to sleep, little witch. I'll figure it out all on myself. David winked at her and hurried to the door. I won't stay any longer. It's late, and we don't want rumors spreading in the house. David is glad that you asked for help, and this will affect the story. Audrey put her phone on the bedside table, then absentmindedly covered herself completely with the blanket. Among other things, there was a thought firmly lodged in her mind. Why didn't I have the courage to talk to Mikkel right away? The upcoming conversation no longer frightened her at all. Still, Audrey imagined different scenarios, replaying them in her head, and it was not until dawn that she fell asleep. As a result, the one-on-one conversation didn't happen. Mikkel waited for everyone in the living room for a long time, keeping the evaluator guessing. Audrey took a seat next to Cassiel. She didn't even bother to ask any questions. Out of habit, she looked around. Only Raphael was missing. If he was feeling worse, would the others act normal? Would they share his condition with me? Audrey didn't know how to ask the question or to whom. She pursed her lips. How do I find out if he's okay? Just ask the room. Let's begin. Audrey sat up straight, leaned forward. Somehow she knew that the conversation was going to be about her. Audrey, you had something to tell us. Just you, but alright. She tried to ignore everyone's stares, so she clasped her trembling hands. I know I should have said this sooner, but I'm saying it now. One of my patients threatened me, and yesterday I found out there could be no mistake. He's connected to your cult. Arthur Claudius. He knew Philip Moore and, like Ethan, tried to kill me. So, you knew we were looking for these killers all over the city and forgot to tell us about this patient? Audrey inched away from Cassiel without meaning to. She looked at him guiltily. Why didn't you tell us so sooner? His justifiable indignation made her want to sink through the floor. Because there was a reason, Cassiel. What reason? You don't need to know everything in the world. It's because of my license. I thought you didn't know that I didn't have it. I was afraid you wouldn't hire me if you knew. Did you confuse our agency with a psychiatric hospital? Why the hell would we need your license? It's easy to get confused with coworkers like this. Of course, we don't give the impression of being the most prestigious organization around, but it would be strange if we agreed to live under the same roof with you without even trying to find out who you are. Mikkel's words were so logical and ridiculous at the same time. Audrey could do nothing but open her mouth and immediately close it again without saying a word. You were the one who was afraid to live under the same roof as me, so you checked my employment history? Audrey, I knew from the beginning that you didn't have a license. What made you think we needed it? I haven't felt this stupid in a long time. Justify yourself. Try to put yourself in my shoes. I was devastated. Then my colleague suggested that I apply here as a joke. If you had turned me away, it would have destroyed me. Your colleagues suggested that you apply to us? Audrey didn't know why it mattered to him, but she nodded. The silence was broken by Phil. Can we speak to your patient? The realization of her cowardice and its consequences made her nauseous. I deprived them of a witness. If I had spoken up earlier, Phil could have questioned him. I'm really sorry, but that's not possible. He died last night. And you only decided to tell us now? Audrey shrank even more. She tried to find an excuse, but she couldn't. I realize you have every right to be angry with me. No one is angry with you, Audrey. The awkward moment was interrupted by Mikhail. If no one else has anything to confess, let us continue. To summarize what we know, there are 5 victims. He glanced at the evaluator warily and added cautiously, and we know that Audrey is also a target of the cult. A target we will not allow them to reach. Taking advantage of the pause, Fell took over Mikhail's monologue. Now we can say with certainty that the choice of the victims is not random. They're not choosing new ones, they're continuing to pursue old ones. Audrey, we need to understand how you are connected to them. Still feeling guilty about the lost witness, Audrey was willing to share anything that might help. We need to know everything that might help us connect you to the victims. What part of my life might reveal a connection? Youth, I'm assuming, is teenage years. Childhood is childhood. Adulthood is adulthood. I don't know. I'm gonna go with youth. I want to go with childhood, but I'll go with youth. After my parents died, I was placed in an orphanage. My relatives didn't want to take custody of a child from a cult. What kind of orphanage? At a monastery. After I graduated, I got a degree in psychiatry. We can check both the orphanage and my university. Oh, you can actually go down and select more than one. Maybe it has to do with the cult itself. I spent my childhood in a cult. My father was a pastor in one of their churches. I can't say if the victims were connected to my community, but that can be checked. And you worshipped? I was raised Christian and never heard a word about any beast, that's for sure. Adulthood. You already know where I used to work. Goodlam seemed to connect the cult members more than the victims. I spent my entire life in confinement, first by necessity, then by choice. My social circle is ridiculously small. Her brief account of her years of existence made her sound so boring. My life must look pretty pathetic from the outside. That's something. Mikhail, we can start with the second murder, go to the restaurant, talk to the victim's father. Check everyone again. Audrey, can you help? Audrey wasn't used to baring her soul to everyone, so she was happy to leave this meeting as soon as possible. Yes, of course. Alright, start with the restaurant. I understand it's closed. It's not closed to everyone, and I'll have an invitation. We'll just have to pretend to be different people. Oh, I'll be happy to do that. Trying to avoid eye contact with anyone in the room, Audrey made a beeline for the exit. Come on, I'll tell you about what awaits us there on the way. Audrey, thank you for your honesty. Audrey nodded and glanced at her silent colleagues. Everyone looked unusually dejected, as if the evaluator's mood had rubbed off on them. In the hallway, the women parted ways. Fell asked her to pick something sophisticated to wear for their mission, then she went out to get the invitation. I wonder what roles we'll have to play at the restaurant. Audrey spent nearly an hour choosing an outfit worthy of Fell's request, and then she changed her clothes leisurely. Reserved like Raphael, dangerous like Fell, bold like Cassiel, passionate like David. Stern, like Mikhail. I like it, though it's black. I do like the dress. Like, reminds me of Gladiator. Passionate like David. It's quite a revealing middle there. Stern like Mikhail. I do like that one. Continue. Now for my hair. I like what you currently have, but she kind of reminds me of a celebrity. Can't put my finger on it. I mean, diamond choices are okay. I'll go with this one, since, you know, it's all black, why not? Audrey fixed her hair, then paused as she sat in front of the mirror. The conversation that was supposed to bring her relief had only complicated an already difficult situation. I wish I could find a place where the past doesn't matter at all. Audrey hoped the other residents' opinion of her wouldn't change, that their frank discussion. She looked out into the garden. But her desire to leave the room had vanished. Fortunately, Fell returned rather quickly. She interrupted Audrey's gloomy thoughts with an unexpected change of appearance. Okay, I guess that's where you get dangerous like Fell now. She reminds me of Ada Wong from Resident Evil. Smiling, she hesitantly paused in the doorway. You took my assignment quite seriously. What do you mean? Your outfit. It suits you. Thank you. Before we go to the restaurant, there's something I need to tell you about it. Fell walked into the bedroom and stood by the window. It's closed for a reason. And they don't let just anyone in. I don't know exactly what goes on over there, but since my superiors turn a blind eye to it, it can't be anything too, illegal. Too illegal? She let her remark pass. Remember, your name is Julie and mine is Natalia. I think it's important to remember the most important parts of their backgrounds along with their names. How did the guests get an invitation? Where are the real guests? What is the relationship between the guests? Do I have to behave in any special way? How did they get invited? They were invited to collaborate. The owner of the establishment is planning to open one in, Miriasiel. The women were invited to observe the presentation of the restaurant's dishes. The owner wants to convince them to become co-owners in France. Oh, I'm hoping I don't have to remember all that. Where are the real guests? They sacrificed the restaurant owner's business proposal for a good cause. It's hard to believe such a simple explanation. So they flew to another country for money and then gave it up? They had to. My guys pulled Julie over for driving under the influence. What is the relationship between guests? Very close, I suspect. They're engaged. But we don't have to put our relationship on display. Do I have to behave in any special way? They're here for the first time. The restaurant owner has never seen them before. So everything will go smoothly. It all sounded quite too simple. We need to try to talk about his son, try to find out what might connect him to you. The owner himself and his restaurant are of little interest to me. I remember the photographs she found in Raphael's room. The mutilated body of the young man was left in the middle of the restaurant they were now apparently going to. His father continues to work in a place where his son was murdered. Normally, people try to preserve good memories. They don't torture themselves by staying where tragedies happened. You were at the crime scene, weren't you? My colleagues were, but nothing came of it. By the way, he didn't say much about his son, and I think there's a good reason for that. Then let's try and find out more. The restaurant that housed, or the building that housed the restaurant, resembled a barn. It had tall, boarded-up windows and heavy oak doors. Anyone not in the know would think the place was abandoned and walk right by. Anyone who wanted a roof over their head for the night would simply not be able to get in. The front door had no handle or bell. It opened at the exact time stated on the invitation. At the entrance, the women were met by a silent host with a deathly pale complexion. His cut face through the dim light of the room like the moon in the night sky. He led them inside. Audrey could barely make out the shapes of the objects around them. She shuddered when one of the silhouettes blinked. Behind each chair, like statues, stood motionless waiters. I hope this really is a restaurant. The host led them to a table and invited them to sit down with a barely perceptible nod. The obscured figure behind Audrey offered her a chair, then pushed it slightly to help her get seated. It looks like we're in for some kind of performance. Her soft voice echoed through the room, indicating that they were likely the only guests for the evening. A performance. If I can at least see my plate in the dark. Okay, that's kind of pretty, I'm not gonna lie. As if anticipating her words, the restaurant walls suddenly lit up, illuminating the room. After the desolation that surrounded the building, the sudden plunge into luxury came as a shock, creating contrast for greater impact. Welcome. As if out of nowhere, the owner of the establishment appeared before them. Has he been standing in the shadows this whole time? A trim, well-groomed man in a chef's uniform peered at the unfamiliar faces. I hope you had a good trip, and of course that you are hungry. The man smiled and extended his hand to the evaluator. Adam Valino, at your service for the evening. Oh, my. Okay. Yeah, the other one's Natalia. Nice to meet you, Julie. And you must be Natalie. That's right. Val looked around with interest as she shook Adam's hand. This setting is impressive. Adam smiled enigmatically and waved off her compliment. It's just a beautiful wrapper that you can customize to your liking, and merci. If we come to an agreement. No doubt my tongue could convince you to agree to a deal, but this time I'll have your tongues help me. Whatever that means. Anyway, Adam signaled to someone behind the guests' backs, then cast an enthusiastic glance around the room. Within these walls, people do not stuff themselves, they savor. Here the soul soars with the indulgence of the flesh. Okay. In an instant, the restaurant seemed to have been submerged underwater. The silent waiters placed dishes in front of the women and immediately dissolved back into the shadows. The first course, take a look. I don't know what the hell that is, but okay. As you know, every venture includes risk, but even risk can be divine in taste. In front of you is fugu fish. Oh, the fish that has a chance to kill you. Oh. The pearlescent, delicate dish was suddenly much more intriguing, starting us off with a dish that is banned in our country. Charming. Even the preparation of this amazing creature requires exquisite skill. One wrong move will kill a visitor to our establishment in a matter of seconds. And there's definitely no poison in it. There definitely is. The safest flesh is on its back. I cut these slices from its belly, where all its poison is concentrated. It's amazing how we are affected by what we taste. Because fugu is initially safe, it's your own eating habits that make it poisonous. That makes no goddamn sense. And you're suggesting that we risk our lives. Interesting. The dish, like our business, can be entirely pure. But that's the charm. There's just enough poison to make you feel the euphoria of your own decision. For some reason, Adam's main guest was clearly Julie. He addressed her first. Do you dare? I mean, I don't think you'd have much of an establishment if you kill every single person that took a risk, so... Under Adam's enthusiastic gaze, Audrey dipped a translucent petal into the sauce and placed it on her tongue. She chewed the firm, gelatinous flesh carefully, trying to evaluate it. It's not like fish or meat, it's something else entirely different. You feel the taste of danger. Achievement unlocked: the boldest. Risk it and try the dangerous disc. Hey, who would have known? You get off my page now? Oh, I also got 10 diamonds for that. Audrey listened to the sensations of her body. Her legs were rapidly filling with lead, sending a paralyzing wave higher to her arms, to her head. But she had no time to be frightened. She shook off the overwhelming sensation easily and blinked dazedly. Her control over her body returned just as swiftly, but in reverse order. Audrey took a deep breath. She felt a slight euphoria from the unfamiliar sensation. Resurrection. That was... interesting. I knew you would appreciate it. Adam clapped loudly to summon his staff. The dishes changed with astonishing ease and speed. The atmosphere in the restaurant changed along with them. Okay, I'm like enthralled by this shit. It's very pretty. I mean, in when you're eating, the atmosphere definitely is what sets everything. The second course, take a look. A joint venture requires not only the ability to take risks, but also the ability to trust. I think trust is what it's all about. Do you trust each other? Once again, his appraising gaze is directed at me. We trust, but we check ourselves. I prefer to earn trust, and Natalia has earned mine for a reason. Well, there's something to that. Such grounded people definitely have good heads on their shoulders. This time, there was a black silk ribbon on the tray next to the dish. No matter what you think, partnership implies trust. And what could be better than blind faith? Adam picked up the thin but dense fabric, handed it to the evaluator, and then he addressed Filoni. Natalia, are you ready to give up your right to choose? Are you ready to experience a taste seasoned with either faith in your partner or fear of mistrust? Audrey could have sworn that Fel would refuse such an offer. She'd rather put me in handcuffs than be deprived of mobility or any other senses. But she looked at the ribbon. Fel unexpectedly asked, "Shall we try it?" Jackie wants us. Tie the ribbon over Fel's eyes. Audrey shrugged and took the cool cloth in her hands. Alright, let's give it a try. She walked around the table and stood behind Fel, then carefully tied the ribbon in a rather flimsy knot. She couldn't help but stare at Fel's delicate, straight shoulders, always taut like a string. Does she ever relax? Is it too tight? No. Fel's voice had changed. It had become softer, more agitated. This is an interesting way to stimulate the taste buds of your visitors. Audrey returned to the table and looked at the wide array of different dishes. Which one should I choose? Any of them. There's no poison, so don't worry. The dark colors are bitter, light or sour, bright or sweet. Black colors undermine the trust between you. So don't give black, got it? What's in them? Flavor, nothing more. Perhaps you, Natalia, would find these dishes most appealing. But I wouldn't risk it. Sounds like they could all be quite unpleasant. That's the point. Taste is different for everyone. The question is, do you trust your partner with such an important choice? sudden it's black. Don't look at me. Don't blame me. I don't know what the game's doing. Oh. Try everything yourself first. Feed her. Ask how she feels. Remove her blindfold. Feed her. A spoon-shaped pastry stand with an unusual filling caught Audrey's eye. What's this? A foam-like dish was opalescent, did not fit into any other categories described. It's hard to capture the color because no one can give a definitive opinion on it. Today, it holds sweetness, tomorrow, bitterness. Does the recipe change every day too? Adam appreciated her joke and smiled. Still, he answered seriously. No, the recipe is always the same. Maybe it's about the main ingredient. Audrey lifted the spoon and sniffed it. I'm getting some fruity notes. Will you try it? Phil nodded and extended her hand. I'll do it for you. I'm afraid you won't be able to get this culinary wonder to your mouth. Audrey leaned over the not-too-wide table and carefully brought the spoon to her colleague's mouth. She gently touched Phil's lips with the tip of the spoon, inviting them to open. We're certainly doing some interesting things here. Phil opened her mouth obediently. Carefully, and therefore too slowly, she wrapped her lips around the spoon and ran them along its ceramic surface. Moving her hands lightly to the side, Audrey found that she couldn't pull herself away. The opportunity to be so close to Phil while hiding that closeness thanks to the blindfold made her head spin. She could snatch a few seconds to study the lovely features of Phil's face without consequence. Up close, she doesn't seem so miserable. A shimmering drop appeared at the corner of Phil's mouth, distracting Audrey from the question she wanted to ask. Adam beat her to it. What do you think? A little sour, but I like it. I'm curious what flavor would stand out for you, Julie. Adam smiled slyly and leered at the shimmering drop like the serpent tempter. You got a little something here, to tell you. Phil touched her lips, but missed the spot. Here, let me... As gently as possible, Audrey wiped the drop off Phil's skin with her thumb. She noticed that Phil had opened her lips again, apparently unconsciously. Her skin so soft like velvet. Then, unexpectedly, even to herself, the evaluator licked the drop off her thumb. Seeing this, Adam hastily asked, How does it taste to you? Delicious. Sweet. Adam clicked his tongue and remarked mockingly, You seem to have focused your attention on the taste of another dish. But who am I to judge the newly engaged and their obvious preferences? Oh, it's one of those dishes. Okay. Blushing, Audrey retreated. Phil touched her lips with her fingertips again. It's been so long since I had such nice guests. I was reading at the top there, but Phil was happy to, I don't know. Try everything yourself first. No, we gave some to her. I'm good now. Ask how she feels. Audrey knew from experience that few people are comfortable in complete darkness. She asked, How are you doing? Are you alright? Phil exhaled raggedly and admitted, I know this is just a silly game, but feeling vulnerable isn't very fun. We can stop and take the blindfold off. After a moment, Phil shook her head. No, it's okay. When I hear your voice, I stop feeling nervous. Audrey felt a little shy. For some reason, she tried to find an explanation for Phil's admission. I guess anyone would react that way to a familiar voice. Phil grimaced and adjusted the blindfold. Oh, I don't know. If it were Mikhail's voice, I'd try to hide deeper in the darkness. Who's Mikhail? A bothersome acquaintance. And it's a good thing I sent out invitations for just the two of you. Absolutely. Fel would love to stay here longer with you. At least I got to read that one. I won't lie, she is, like, super pretty. Not gonna lie. Remove her blindfold. I'm not gonna feed myself, sorry. I'm good. Audrey realized that tasting the process was taking them further away from their main goal. She coughed quietly. This was interesting, thank you. So soon. You haven't even tasted half of it. Nodding, Phil supported her partner. I'm afraid we don't have much time. And I suggest you try the last course of the day. The last one? Audrey began to process this new information. She exchanged a glance with Fel. We had a great time, but we haven't learned anything useful. We need to hurry. Adam waved to the host and gave him some sort of sign. A joint venture means openness. I am not asking you for revelations. I'm offering you one. Oh, God, brighter. Ugh, it was blinding white light hit their eyes, with bright red spots spreading across them like blood. The sight was impressive, that Audrey didn't even notice the new dish placed in front of her. Third course, take a look. It doesn't look all that appetizing, I'm gonna be real with you. What is this? Life and death as they are. That's not an answer. But before you decide to try this dish, let me tell you why I chose France. I wonder if his desire to open a new restaurant has something to do with the death of a son. Maybe he's running from his grief after all. So you want to move to Marseille? Move. No, you misunderstand me. I want to open a second restaurant there. You see, although it was from a distance, I knew your late father. I can assure you that I understand him well. The unexpected confession took her breath away. The mention of her parent cast a dark shadow over her face. Fortunately, Adam didn't notice. Stay calm. He's talking about Julie's father, not yours. I visited your family's restaurant. The one in the deepest basement of Marseille. And there your father served me more than just food. On the plate he served me a lost sense, garnished with greens. The atmosphere in the restaurant suddenly shifted. A fanatical gleam in his eye replaced his proper ease and feigned friendliness. Audrey glanced over at her colleague and was relieved to see that Fel looked perfectly calm. Fel doesn't seem to sense any danger. All my life I've searched for unique flavors, tried hundreds of combinations. Only in your father's restaurant did I realize that the best seasonings are feelings, emotions, sin. That evening when I was served a tiny ortolan, the moment I covered my head with the serviette, I had an epiphany. When consuming ortolan, the person's head is covered with a napkin to hide their face from God, who disapproves of such a meal. Never knew that, okay. It is the suffering that enriches the dish. And the dish before you is proof of my words. Audrey knew the process of preparing ortolan and couldn't share the man's enthusiasm. She didn't even want to think about what was now on her plate. Does he think a tortured bird tastes different? It does. Don't ask me. Ask Hannibal Lecter. The look in the man's eyes only killed her appetite, but it also made the empathetic Audrey feel nauseous. You want to open a restaurant with dishes like and recipes like this? Adam was genuinely surprised to detect a note of disdain in her voice. There are no disgusting recipes, only people who are incapable of properly appreciating them. Don't I get the feeling that fugu is the tip of the iceberg? If we try to gain his trust, we surely will find out that there are far more controversial dishes on the menu. Should I try to find out more? play along. Audrey plastered a smile on her face and suppressed all judgmental thoughts. I wouldn't want to open a pathetic imitation of my family's restaurant. My father had much more interesting recipes. Do you have any? Of course. What would you like? Audrey had no idea what other dish could be characterized by its cruelty. Foie gras? She bit her lip and decided to try a different approach. The main question is, what dish could get his restaurant shut down? I'd like to try something I've never tasted at my father's restaurant. Something even he hasn't tried. Adam eagerly accepted the challenge, grinning like a predator ready to begin a hunt. I'm confident that I can surprise you. Come to me in a week. You'll not only agree to work with me, but you'll also acknowledge that I'm the best at what I do. Deal. The last thing she wanted was to sit there and smile at Adam any longer. Your choice will affect the story. Feld pushed her plate away a little nervously. She crossed her arms, clearly indicating that she was tired of the chatter and the food. I need to ask him something that will subtly get him talking about his son. But how? Start from a distance. I admire you. After my father died, I wanted to close all of our restaurants. It all reminded me of him, you see. Adam's scrutable face was like a mask, not showing a single emotion. I don't see you, Julie. There's a life's work, and then there's everything else. Everything else? As if reading the confusion on her face, Adam rushed to reassure his potential business partner. If you're hinting at my son's death, that's certainly no reason for me to stop my work. You have nothing to worry about. I'm sorry for your loss. Did your son follow in your footsteps? Based on how he ended up, my son was clearly interested in something he shouldn't have been. I won't judge, though. I have no idea what he was into or what he was doing in my restaurant at all. He lived like his mother in Germany. We were not in touch, but there's just something I'm really curious about. I still can't figure out how he got in here and managed to turn off the cameras. His words, so light in their frankness, so heavy in their meaning, completely ruined the evening, which had not started too badly. The poor man came to a father who had abandoned him, and instead of a parental love, he met a horrific death. Audrey fell silent as she tried to suppress her painful thoughts. There's too much senseless cruelty in this world. So you don't even know what he wanted from you? Well, what do children want? Money, probably. Phil realized that they wouldn't get anything more useful out of Adam. She abruptly stood up. She immediately stopped pretending to be nice, leaving Adam momentarily confused. We're out of time. We're leaving. Audrey stood up after her colleague. She barely managed a goodbye nod to the owner. You're very impulsive. Phil's impulsiveness didn't faze Adam, however. It was a pleasure to meet you, both. I'm definitely not going to shake his hand. And Julie, I look forward to seeing you again. The lights in the room went out. Creeping darkness engulfed the restaurant owner once again. It felt like he wasn't moving at all, just standing there in silence, watching his guests leave. And like he would remain standing until the next visitor entered the restaurant. Audrey imagined Adam hiding in the shadows in the same way on the tragic day of the murder. She couldn't help but whisper, "Are you sure he's innocent?" Yes. There was no point in continuing this conversation, so the women returned to Astrea. Phil gave Mikkel all the information they had gathered. They hurried out of his office. Audrey couldn't manage to slip out before her boss asked her to stay. I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this morning. How are you feeling? Audrey sat back in her chair. She tried to understand exactly what he was asking. I definitely feel ashamed. I truly regret not telling you everything right now. I was angry at you for withholding information, but I did the same thing. Audrey, that's not what I was asking about. His gentle gaze made her feel even worse. I understand, but your concern feels undeserved today. You don't have to try to earn my favor. Everyone has to, but not me. Still, I will try to be useful, I promise. I tried to find my connection to the victim today, but I don't see one. Except a connection to our fathers. They are similar in some ways. My father loved the church more than me. Adam loved his restaurant more than his son. Interesting observation. Their conversation was interrupted by a persistent knocking at the door. Without waiting for an invitation, Raphael and Cassiel burst into the office. Mikhail, we need David. Where is he? Raphael glanced at the evaluator and spoke more calmly. I know who's next. We need to bring him here. Are you sure? Yes. Audrey perked up her ears. She tried to read her colleagues' faces for an explanation, but found no answers. Raphael senses death again. David's not here, maybe Phil. I can drag the victim here by force, too. Mikhail grimaced and shook his head. There's no need for force. We must be more tolerant and wise. Mikhail looked at the evaluator and suddenly made a suggestion. Audrey, maybe you can convince a certain person to come to Astrea. I can try. I have a better chance than Cassiel does, at least. Great, let's go. We'll explain everything on the way. Where to? To the sports club. Alrighty then. Before disappearing out of the door after Raphael and Cassiel, Audrey smiled at Mikhail. Embarrassed by the inappropriate display of emotion, she hurried to hide it, but he supported her impulse. Be careful, Audrey. Whatever you may think, you are helping us much more than you realize. Just please do no more than you have to come back. Nodding, she hurried after her colleagues. Cassiel drove the same way he interacted with people. At one point, Audrey thought he wanted to kill them all. The jumpy driver floored the gas. He barely avoided collisions with cars and ran red lights. In short, he did everything possible to make Audrey suddenly remember all those long, forgotten prayers. Do you even have a driver's license? Audrey only asked the question when she got out of the car, though it had been on her mind the whole way. You can take a cab back. I'm definitely not riding with you. Quiet, please. In the sports complex, the lights were only on in one room, where the boxers were training. As such, it was easy to find the potential victim. A lone figure wearing earphones was enthusiastically punching a bag. He didn't notice the guests at first. As they approached, Audrey saw that she could rival Cassiel in size. It's like Raphael knew that forcing him to do something wouldn't work. Audrey finally stepped into the athlete's line of sight. She gave him a friendly smile and waved, inviting him to speak. We're closed. We know. We're here for you. The man took out his earphones and narrowed his eyes warily. What do you want? What am I supposed to tell him? Embellish the facts. We're from the Astrea, a detective agency. We've been hired to find dirt on you. Dirt? Do they want to disqualify me from the competition? Gladly picking up the idea, Audrey nodded. Yes, but fortunately we don't do that. Our field of work is exposing cheaters and stuff like that. Naturally, we refused. But in response to our refusal, the client threatened us. He said that if we didn't shut up, he would shut us up. We refused, again. And then he tried to scare us. He slashed the tires of our car and broke a couple of windows. You see, his attitude frightened us, so we've come to warn you. Why didn't you go to the police? We did. But since this person hasn't done anything to you, the police obviously decided not to inform you. Well, thank you. If you don't mind, we'd like to ask you to help us prosecute him. It would be great if you could answer a few questions and look at some photos, when you have time, of course. The man's expression showed his hesitation. He was not eager to agree to this strange request. I don't even know if I have time to find... If I can find the time to come by. I have a competition coming up. I'm leaving tomorrow. You can come to our agency today. It won't take much time, and it'll save you and us a lot of trouble. Well, all right. The tense conversation was interrupted by resounding footsteps. The man is not afraid of you and is willing to cooperate. Hey, lady, we're closed. Audrey turned to see a slender figure. She was moving slowly towards them, a predatory gleam in her eyes. Raphael stepped in front of the man to shield him and asked in a quiet, even voice, "How can we get out of here?" The man didn't seem to understand why the door behind them wasn't good enough, but he answered anyway. "There's an emergency exit behind the ring. Let's go. I can't just leave the gym like this. And we can't leave you with that woman. Cassiel will get her out of here." The man apparently connected some dots, decided that she was the client who was harassing them. He became even more confused, but still followed Raphael. Cassiel moved towards the new guest, scrutinizing her face carefully. When the woman saw that they were trying to take the boxer away, she laughed. "Well, it's go time, and she's got a crazy look in her eyes." "Run while you can, little rats. Just remember, you're running in circles with no way out. You're all going to die anyway." She looked up at Cassiel, who approached her and smiled sweetly. "Well, hello there, handsome." The evaluator was distracted from the strange sight by a distant voice. "Audrey, come with us." "Oh, Audrey, wait, don't leave. I'll calm your night down in a moment, and then you and I will have a chat, too." What Audrey saw next left her speechless. The frail woman lunged at the large man, knocking him to the ground and pinning him down. "Audrey, run!" Audrey ran for the exit, but hesitated at the stairs. As she looked at the rapidly shrinking backs of the men ahead of her, she pressed her lips together. "I can't leave Cassiel. What if that woman isn't alone? And why doesn't he just throw her off of him? Is he afraid of accidentally hurting her? Is he stalling for time?" But a hoarse voice quickly brought her back to her senses. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm going to help him." Audrey knew she could barely use a heavy barbell or any other sorts of equipment as a weapon, but instead she ran towards the woman. She tried to pull her off of Cassiel. "Wait your turn." The woman released Cassiel's neck and swung at Audrey, sending her flying with a single blow. Audrey flew a good 16 feet, landed near the boxing ring. She instinctively crawled away from the fighting duo. Fortunately, the momentary distraction was enough for Cassiel to throw the woman off of himself. Audrey was too shocked to see exactly how he knocked the woman unconscious, but she suddenly calmed down and went limp. What the hell? Cassiel left the attacker on the floor and rushed over to the evaluator. "Are you all right?" "Yes." His concern quickly turned into righteous anger. "I told you to follow Raphael. Why did you stay? Have you lost your mind?" Adrenaline coursed through her veins, now mixed with fear and anger. "I stayed to help you." Irritated, she pushed his outstretched hand. She grabbed the edge of the ring and rose unsteadily to her feet. Her bruised knee reacted immediately, but she didn't let herself fall, gripping the ledge even tighter. "Don't you get it? I don't need your help." Audrey burned with rage. She shoved his hand away, again, harder this time. "Damn it, Cassiel, normal people say thank you." "I could have handled it myself. Why did you doubt me?" "Doubt? You were almost taken down by a woman who weighs 90 pounds at most. Are you immortal or just an idiot?" Not knowing how to answer, he rolled his eyes. "Oh, move aside." Audrey pushed herself upright with the support of the ledge and then took a step around the sullen obstacle of a man. "You irritate me so much." Walking with her head held high was out of the question. Her knee was too sore. Limping, she took a few small steps towards the emergency exit. "What's wrong with your leg?" "I don't know, I was knocked across the, room." "Nothing." Leaving the annoying voice behind, Audrey picked up her pace, but she didn't get far. Cassiel caught her cool hand in his and turned her back around. "I don't need your help, either." Audrey pulled her hand free, then pushed him in the chest with all of her might. But the wall of stone like muscles didn't budge an inch. This time I'll definitely leave you alone with a killer, just like you want me to. Fight her until you're blue in the face if you like it so much. This time Cassiel didn't continue the argument. He almost sighed as he spoke. That's enough, Audrey. And, quite unexpectedly, he picked her up and carried her back to the boxing ring. Shocked, Audrey clung to his shoulder. She didn't know what to say. She didn't fully grasp what was happening, and it only lasted a few seconds. Cassiel sat her gently on the edge of the ring and knelt in front of her. Where does it hurt? I thought we were going towards the emergency exit because the serial, demon 90-pound woman was going to kill us all. As she looked down at him, Audrey felt only one thing. The dull, rapid beating of her heart. She swallowed nervously, tried to answer calmly, but her voice came out trembling. I think I bruised my knee. Cassiel stood up and hurried to the corner of the gym, to the equipment rack. Quickly, in just a few long strides, he returned and knelt down again. I can do it myself. Audrey saw a wide, elastic bandage in his hands. She tried to take it from him, but he wouldn't let her. I know how to do this. Relax your leg. Easier said than done. Cassiel wrapped the band just below her knee and pulled the fabric together. Does it hurt? No. He secured the bandage by carefully tucking the end under the tightly wrapped cloth. Without removing his hand from her bandaged leg, he gave Audrey a piercing look. The warmth radiating from his hand sent a wave through her entire body. Aww. Except I don't have that kind of hairstyle, nor that outfit, but... Aww. Anyway. Thank you for your help. But it would be really easier for me if you thought of yourself instead of me. I can't do that. Cassiel sighed heavily and stood up. Can you walk? He took her hands in his and helped her to her feet. Yes. What you've done has shaken Cassiel to the core. He'll be thinking about you all night long. Cassiel waited for the police to arrive, then handed the still unconscious attacker directly to Fell. The would-be victim visibly relaxed when he saw the police. After speaking with Fell, the man went to Astrea much more willingly. Astrea's new guest had a long conversation with Mikkel. He was then assigned to a spare bedroom, and assured that it would be safer that way. For some reason, he stopped arguing and just agreed. I wonder what Mikkel told him. Probably that they were going to kill him. Raphael and Cassiel stayed in the office, while Audrey and the man went into the living room to talk. I'm sure they wanted to discuss the attacker and how she almost finished Cassiel off. Where did she get so much strength? Such a frail woman couldn't possibly taken down someone as strong as Cassiel. There's definitely something wrong with her. The things that came to mind were quite fantastical. Who could possess such strength? My name is Harry. By the way, Audrey, are they keeping you here because they're saving you from a beast, too? No, I'm here... She paused. She suddenly realized that she wasn't sure of her answer anymore. Interpreting her hesitation as agreement, Harry continued. Aren't you afraid to stay in this place? A woman, and such a beautiful one, too. And there are men around who say you're in some kind of danger? They didn't tell me anything like that. Really? A blonde guy told me straight up that some kind of cult is hunting us and trying to kill us. What did they tell you? Audrey tried to suppress her growing unease. She attempted to justify herself, but it was more for her than him. I got a job with them, but the cult really exists. They're not lying to you. But who are they, and why do we matter to them? She had no answer. Good Samaritans who are willing to provide for me until the end of my days, just like that? Okay, I can understand them doing that for you, but why do they care about me? With just a few words, the once pleasant living room had turned into a gloomy, suspicious place. What could they want from me? Are they dragging me around as bait? Audrey clasped her trembling hands and looked at Harry. You can think whatever you want, but you're in real danger outside the walls of this house. I was fine until you guys showed up. Harry stood up abruptly. He stared at the open door that led to the garden. I can see that you're scared. Come with me. Let's go outside and call the police right away. Tell them you were being held against your will. Let the authorities deal with these Astrea and the beast, not us. I can't. The man chewed on his lower lip for a bit, but headed for the exit anyway. Damn it. I can't let him go like this. Warn him. Hey, we have enough points. Harry, I'm not going to stop you, but just listen. Leave for your competition right now. There's no need to go to the police. You've seen the cops. They're aware of all this. But just take care of yourself. There's nothing suspicious or bad about this request, is there? Try not to contact anyone until you leave the city. Don't trust anyone. Harry thought for a moment, then nodded. All right. You take care of yourself, too. Audrey watched him disappear into the green of the garden. She slowly sank on the couch. She needed to run and warn Mikkel that Harry was leaving, but she couldn't even move. What does he really want from me? Audrey was convinced that Mikkel had known everything about her from the very beginning. She began to replay their few conversations in her head. Can I trust his words? And can I really leave? The feeling of safety she had suddenly evaporated. Evil now seemed to lurk everywhere. Outside the house, the beast awaited her, but inside were the oppressive, sticky webs of the unknown. What am I supposed to do? Alright, first and foremost, we'll have a discussion here in a minute. That would give us, I'll give it 5 for now. We'll give it 5. We'll talk about it here in a second. Let's get those diamonds. Alright, so we were able to get our diamonds. With that being said, looks like the finale is available, so I'll get to work on that ASAP. But let me first and foremost say, if you did enjoy the content that I do, especially since these chapters are literally, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're really lengthy, long, high quality things that I really like versus doing, say, choices. Or hell, I'm gonna even go further and say chapters and things like that. They were never as long as this. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of imagery, there's a lot of unique noises, unique music, etc. So I really, really do like these. With that being said, please remember to like, share, and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. Let me know in the comment section your thoughts, but I will say the following. So, Henry, let me know if you picked Diamond Choice or specifically which one. If you didn't, let me know. I always love to know what the alternatives are. I don't use, like, anything for information, like, what do I pick, who, what, when, where, especially when updates first come out, right? You have none of that information, so it's kind of nice to go into a very blind playthrough. So for Henry, I'll say this, especially from a guy's perspective, it's you can tell he was very alarmed or disarmed or whatever you want to call it, in terms of, hey, someone is willing to give me room and board, protect me, and help me. And it's something that in society we don't do for men. So it's very alarming. Like we like red flags, alarms, bells, whistles, the whole 9 yards kind of go off when things like that are offered to a guy, because we are not used to it. We're really not used to a lot of things, and that's just the way that, unfortunately, society, not just upbringing, but society itself has ingrained in us. We're not allowed to have that. Perfect example is if a guy has a really bad home environment, right? He meets the streets. He has nowhere to go. If a woman or a girl has an issue at a home, whether it be her parents or whatever, they have shelters for that. So guys don't. I'm a guy who literally and figuratively advocates for everyone should be helped and whatnot. But women have a lot more going for them than guys. We eat homelessness. That's what we eat. There's nowhere for us to go. So, again, let's put it this way. I fought for over 10 years with Google to change results. For instance, if you went to Google just less than a year ago, if you typed "my wife yelled at me," they had no offerings of help or anything for men. If you typed "my husband yelled at me," there were a long, lengthy amount of their phone numbers, organizations, like tons of things that a woman could go to. And again, just hey, you and your hubby or you and your boyfriend got in a fight. Tons of sources of hey, get away. That's this. It's that. It's bad. It's get away from. Just because you guys. And I'm not talking about physical fight. I'm just talking verbal. My husband yelled at me. There were tons of things that were brought up to get away from him, right? It would encourage you to break up your relationship just because you got in like a little thing. Could have been anything. Guys, we had nothing. So at least it was within this last year that at least some source of, equal right, I guess, for guys of at least having one helpful thing when we go to Google now was officially posted there. It's the same hotline now for guys that it is girls because again, guys didn't have anything, so at least we have one thing now. But again, if you're a boy or a guy who's in a situation and you have a really bad home life, you have nowhere to go. You have the streets, and that is it. And as a person who, again, I'm a guy, so I can attest to this. And I didn't have a really great home life, so again, it was choose live there or be homeless. So I can definitely feel Henry. At least, he's got, money. I'm assuming he's a boxer. He's going to his competition, yada, yada, yada. So at least he's got something going on. I guess we'll see in the finale if anything did happen to him, though. So we'll see if maybe they caught him or maybe he got away or whatnot. It will be nice to see the finale. So, like I said, I'll be working on that ASAP. But other than that, once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Peace out.